Silent betrayal. When love deceives, the eyes do not cry, but the soul screams. This sentence is still engraved on my heart today, perhaps because it has become the reality of my life. My name is Armand, and this story is not just mine, but of all those who continue to live despite being deceived, but die a little bit inside every day. Zainab was my world. A relationship of more than 5 years, a relationship that was tied to my breath. I could see the universe in her smile. But as beautiful as the universe looks, it can also be as terrible. The first suspicion. It all started that night when I returned home late. It was raining, there was humidity in the air, and the streetlights were flickering. When I entered the house, there was a strange silence. The light in Zainab's room was off, but a faint light was peeking from one corner. I opened the door slowly. That light was falling on her diary, which was open on the table. My heart started beating fast for some reason. I went forward and picked up the diary. I read the first page. The words became like daggers and pierced my heart. Love is the betrayal that my heart is enduring every day. But I can't live without someone else. My hands started shaking. It felt like the world had shattered in an instant. The night of revelation. Zainab came into the room. Her eyes froze for a few moments when she saw me with the diary. My face was pale. Questions were burning in my eyes. "What is this, Zainab?" My voice was heavy. She was silent. After a moment, she closed her eyes and said softly, "The truth is what you fear the most. My heart was never yours." My world stopped. The room started spinning. The woman I had given my every breath to was telling me today that my place in her heart had never been. The roots of deception. But the story didn't end there. After that night, I started watching Zainab closely. Strange numbers on her phone, whispers to someone at night, and a strange calmness on her face, as if she was somewhere else in my presence. One day when she went to take a bath, her phone was lying on the table. My heart was beating, but my hand automatically went up. I opened the screen. A name was flashing on WhatsApp. Rohan Hart. Darkness spread before my eyes. I started reading the messages. "I can't forget last night. Everything is incomplete without you. I want this to end soon. Armand won't be able to bear the truth." Every part of me broke. It wasn't just a betrayal. It was a poison that had seeped into my veins. Decision. I didn't say anything at that time. I put the phone back, closed my eyes, and took a deep breath. A storm was brewing inside me, but I knew that even a storm needs time. That night, while Zainab was sleeping, I was awake. I decided that I would hear this story from her own lips. I wanted her to confess everything herself. In the morning at breakfast, I looked into her eyes and asked, "Zainab, if you ever change your mind, will you dare to tell the truth?" She hesitated for a moment, then said with a fake smile, "Why? Why are you asking that?" I didn't answer. I just saw in her eyes the look that every deceiver has in their eyes, a look of fear. This was just the beginning. The curtains of truth were yet to be lifted, and I knew the next step would change her world. The nights were no longer the same. Every passing evening put a new burden on my heart. Zainab would laugh in front of me, talk, sometimes iron my clothes, sometimes complain about the lack of salt in the food, but there was no light in her eyes that used to comfort me. I decided that I would not remain silent any longer. But patience was also necessary to know the truth. I started watching her every move. Secrets of whispers. One evening she was talking on the phone in the drawing room. I was sitting in the other room. Her voice was low, but it was hitting my ears with a fast beat. "Yes, Rohan, everything will be over soon. I just need courage." Courage? Courage for what? My steps automatically moved towards the door, but I stopped myself. She could have denied anything in front of me right now. I needed proof, the clear truth. That night I thought that maybe this was all a misunderstanding. Maybe she was in trouble. Maybe Rohan was her old friend. But my heart knew it was all a lie. The dating game. The next day, Zainab said she was going to meet a friend of hers. My heart immediately said it was an excuse. I kept quiet and gave permission. But when she left, I decided to follow. I stopped my car some distance away and followed her car. She was heading towards a hotel in the middle of the city. A terrible wave ran through my heart. Zainab parked the car and entered the lobby. I controlled my heart with the cool air and went in. She took the elevator and went to the top floor. My eyes were watching everyone from behind. And then that moment came. The door opened and a man came out. Tall, with a strange confidence on his face and a slight smile on his lips. Zainab went forward and shook his hand, then hugged him like old friends meet. Darkness spread before my eyes. It was him, Rohan. Silent scream. I was standing in the corner of the hotel, watching everything. My heart was screaming, but my tongue was tied. I wanted to go and end it all right then and there, but my mind was telling me that it was not the time yet. I had to get the truth out of his mouth now. Zainab and Rohan talked for a while, then moved towards the room. That was all I could see. After that, I started to suffocate. I came out of the hotel and got into the car. It was raining. The drops falling on the glass were mixing with the tears in my eyes. I asked myself, is this the same woman for whom I sacrificed my world? The breaking moment. The next day, Zainab was behaving as if nothing had happened. I also did not reveal anything. But inside, I was dying. At night, when she fell asleep, I checked her phone again. Rohan's messages were still the same, but this time there was a picture. Zainab was standing by the window, smiling, and Rohan's hands were on her shoulders. My soul had left my body as if. The game began. Now I had made up my mind. If Zainab could betray me, then I too would have to turn my sorrow into strength. I kept those diary pages, took screenshots, gathered all the evidence. But one thing I had decided. I would not make noise, I would not accuse. I would destroy her world with the weight of her own truth. That night I stood in front of the mirror and said to myself, silence is my weapon. When the time comes, this betrayal will take her breath away. Preparing for the end. The next day, Zainab asked, "Why are you so quiet, Arman?" I looked into her eyes and said, "I'm just learning that some truths come out in time." She was startled. Her eyelids trembled for a moment, but then she smiled immediately. "You're talking strange things." I smiled, but my heart had made up its mind. Now this story would end with her confession. Now the game had begun. The deception was moving towards its end, and I, Arman, was waiting in silence for the moment when all of Zainab's veils would come off. The days of silence were growing longer. To the outside world, I was still the same dream, a husband, a friend, a hard-working person. But inside, I was broken. There was only one question in every heartbeat: why? When Zainab looked at me, her smile seemed artificial. Sometimes there was a strange fear in her eyes, as if she knew that I had understood everything. But she still continued to play. The shadow of Rohan. One day I deliberately said to Zainab, "I'm going out of town for a few days. There's a business meeting." Zainab looked at me, momentarily shocked, then immediately smiled, "Okay, take care." There was a glimmer of joy in her eyes that she was trying to hide. At that moment, I was sure. As soon as I went out, Rohan would come into her world. I didn't leave the city. I had just started a new game. The curtain rises. 2 days later, at night, I secretly opened the door of the house. The light was on inside. There were sounds of laughter. My heart started pounding. I slowly walked in. Zainab and Rohan were sitting in the drawing room. Rohan was laughing openly, and Zainab was smiling with her hand on his shoulder. That scene became poison in my eyes. There was a storm inside me, but I kept quiet. I went back out the door and stood outside. My heart was telling me to go inside and finish everything, but my mind said, "It's not time yet. There's still a game left." Silent revenge. The next day, Zainab was behaving with me as if nothing had happened. I was the same way. But deep down, I had decided, now this story will move forward according to my plan. I took one of my close friends, Salman, into my confidence. He was a lawyer. I showed him all the evidence, diary pages, phone messages, pictures. Salman looked at me and said, "Arman, keep all this. They will be your greatest weapon when the time comes." The first line of exposure. One night I said to Zainab, "Tomorrow some friends of ours are coming home, a small dinner. You should be ready." Zainab looked at me in surprise. "Suddenly?" I smiled and said, "Yes, sometimes sudden things are the most interesting." The next evening, everyone came to dinner. Happy conversations continued. Zainab was laughing in front of everyone. But then I suddenly said a sentence. Friends, there are some relationships that seem very strong from the outside, but are eaten by termites from the inside. Silence fell in the room. Zainab looked at me in shock. My eyes were fixed on her. Rohan's confrontation. A few days later, Rohan set a new location to meet Zainab. This time, I decided to confront him. I stood outside the hotel room. When he entered, I knocked on the door. Zainab opened the door nervously. My eyes were bloodshot. For the first time, fear appeared on Rohan's face. I stepped inside the door and said, "Game over." Rohan was about to say something when I snatched the phone from his hand. His pictures with Zainab were open on the screen. I threw the phone at his face and said, "Is this your love? Is this your truth?" Zainab's lips were trembling. She said, "Arman, forgive me." A cold smile came to my lips. Forgiveness is for the one who made a mistake, not a betrayal. What you have done will give you time to account for it. I didn't raise my hand, nor did I make a noise. I just left the room. I came out and took a deep breath. The lava inside was still burning, but I knew that the real blow was yet to come. Zainab felt that perhaps everything was over, but she didn't know that my silence was the announcement of her end. Now there was only one last step left. A step that would not only bring Zainab's truth to the world, but would also burn Rohan's pride to ashes.